I'm about to stab every one of you. You're all gonna get stabbed. One more bad thing about One Piece. To be fair, we've been very busy, Star, so we haven't got to watch more episodes, but I plan on watching it at least sometime this week. Some people are into being stabbed, huh? Huh? Is one of those people you, pussy destroyer? Kind of sounds like you'd rather do the stabbing. Or so you say. I want to! I do. You can't stab me if I stab... You can't stab me if I stab myself. I sure as hell can't stab you if you stab yourself. I'll just add another hole. Think I won't stab you again. So, you want to try DP? DP. Toilet paper and super glue, Shank. Hello? You guys are degenerate today. You guys are having problems today. Hey, Kohaku. Alive. Kohaku. You won't answer me. You break my heart. Are you still mad at me? Yeah, she heard it and I said sorry and she won't answer me. I have a feeling Kohaku hates me, guys. I've never once claimed someone as a wife. All the other VTubers get to do it. I wanted to claim Kohaku. Did my TTS not work, by the way? Consume the water. I'm gonna consume the Dr. Pepper. Don't shrug at me, Shizu. You don't have the right to shrug. Weirdo. Baka. One Piece hater. Baka. We'll fight you. Look what I did. Look what! You want to see what she sent me? This is what I wake up to. This is what I wake up to. Give me a sec. Why do I wake up to this? My #2 anime, and she puts this on here. Luigi, do you want to be in the same boat?
Emotional damage.
Dead wrong. Do you want to be in the same boat, Luigi? Look at this. This is what I wake up to. I wake up to travesty. Don't you cry. This would be like me making fun of your favorite show. Yeah, Kohaku. Where can I buy these? Enders. Enders, please. Enders, please. Enders, please. Enders, please. You get one disappointed otter. One disappointed otter for all of you. If there was a disappointed dragon, I'd put that there too. The heck is that? It's a fat cat. The heck? Heck is wrong with you? I have to stop this recording, accidentally send it to Lock On, and he's gonna be like, the begging for
Emotional damage.
Dang right! Let me react, guys.
Get fucked, Bloomberg. Our feature-length AI GPU black market documentary is back online after Bloomberg's illegitimate copyright strike against us, which means that Bloomberg did not follow up its illegitimate copyright strike with a frivolous lawsuit. That means YouTube has reinstated this video.
Would you be interested in joining?
Alright, see, I'm not playing games today. Where's my YouTube chat? YouTube, defend me. Ramon! Hi. Hi, fat guy. I do have an eye. What an intro. I'll fight you. Exactly. YouTube chat, defend me. I'm gonna pull out my knife for now. Whoops. Yeah, there we go. Alright, behave!
Has happened in the time since the copyright struck us, so to get everyone back up to speed. In just the last couple weeks, a former Bloomberg writer published a story stating that Bloomberg was once called by the Chinese government and threatened over a tweet about Taiwan, leading to the then Bloomberg contract writer censoring his own tweets after a call from Bloomberg management. Forbes published a story including details of our bout with Bloomberg.
The only reason Shizu hasn't been banned is because I like her.
Bloomberg came back to us a second time
sweet,
about licensing
and I know she doesn't
the
mean
President
it.
of the United States that
And I
we
know
have a legal right to use.
I know she would ask for
use.
forgiveness,
And
but she's
greatest
too
moment of irony,
much
a
about the
Tesla
meme.
content creator named Tesla Flex tweeted, quote, "I didn't know Bloomberg could just
Nah, I
rip
can't
my
smite
videos
you.
without asking for permission," end quote. But worse than that, they didn't even attribute him.
Can we just, like... You said your piece. Hi, Dom Ball King.
Bloomberg attributed his work
Can't
to
ban
Consumer
YouTube.
Reports,
Can't be
which is
done.
a different publication entirely. So first of all, apparently Bloomberg does believe in fair use and is willing to potentially make that argument. And secondly, when they might argue fair use of the clip, they attribute credit to the wrong person. It's certainly useful that Bloomberg is illustrating its belief in fair use and copyright law and is creating evidence of its beliefs and rules for them, but not for anyone else. and plenty more. But more importantly, our movie is back on the platform. It's linked below, and we need your help to get it back into the algorithm, which is why we're making this video, so please check it out. It's sat at 0 views for about 2 weeks, which is basically a death penalty on YouTube. If you didn't hear about it before, the movie details smugglers in the US who move export-controlled GPUs illegally into China from the perspective of the US, and then details buyers, users, dealers, and fixers on the Chinese side. For those operating in China, all of this is legal. These GPUs aren't illegal in China, after all. For the smuggler we found in the US, though, he is violating US export controls by exporting banned cards he tests in the back of his vehicle in the States. Something that people are actively being prosecuted for by the Department of Justice.
Isn't that nice, guys? You'll say sorry and watch One Piece on one condition. What's the condition? Don't ask for too much. Send it in Discord. Oh, that we're already 20 minutes in this stream. I can't finish it. I'm not even halfway through this. Where are you putting it, Shizu? Did you put it in Discord? Where is it, Shizu? You said I don't have to. Have to what?
New phone. Who dis?
Didn't I put it in chat? No, did you? No?
Lemao totally worth it XD.
You shut up. Put it in Discord, Shizu.
It is a really cool story, and it's crazy that we got the level of access that we did, and that all these people were willing to go on camera for the most part without so much as a face blur. And we're pretty proud of the fact that we have at this point published the most detail on this pipeline on the internet.
You know what he needs to do next? They need to try to get into gamer areas. Like, I doubt it would ever even be possible, but like, cover some of the higher up companies. See how like delusional they are. Think of the flesh.
It's in that video. That's where you can get it, and that's why we're so happy it's back up. All we wanted at this point was for people to see it, because fortunately,
hi, Deadlock.
We were financially supported to make it, and then it was taken down. So we're happy it's back out there. Also, you can still get a copy of it on a USB drive on our store from one of our 3 remaining backer tiers. The Kingpin tier has closed. We closed that on the 8th, I think. The others will close soon as well, but you can also watch it now on our channel for free. For all of you who have re-uploaded it, just link back to ours if you don't mind and direct your people to the source. But who knows? There's always a chance that they take it back down. And have I got ideas for if that happens? As for us, we are at this point keeping all options and remedies open, including legal if we feel like it's necessary or worthwhile. As for this topic, this whole process has been very educational. It's not been a particularly fun education, but most aren't. And we've learned a lot, and we're ready to share it with not only viewers who are just curious about how it all works and how content you are interested in might get suppressed or squelched without you really even knowing about it, but I think also just for other creators watching this, it gives you a behind the scenes.
What kind of statement is that? Well, Alan, some GPUs are made in America, and ironically, they're better than Chinese ones. That's why they're transported to China. so that they can tear them down, figure them out, and all this other stuff. That's part of the story. I know there's like other parts of the story. I just don't pay enough attention to it. Thank you for the paddling.
Like, you know, they give you some buttons you can click when there's a copyright strike, and they make it really scary if you contest it, because it's like penalty of perjury.
And what's hilarious is that they could probably get it straight from that place, but they don't want to admit that place exists.
Channel deletion and termination of your account. Your money goes away if you had any in escrow. And they make it sound pretty scary, but we've gone through that process. Now we can tell you how it works on the other side. Before that, this video is brought to you by the Montech HSO1 and HSO2 cases. The HSO1 and HSO2 cases differ by way of a mesh front or a curved glass front. We previously reviewed these cases in our intensive benchmarking process and found them to be overall high build quality, with thermals comparable between the two designs. The rear chamber of the case uniquely brings the power supply forward and perforates the rear wall of the case, allowing for more air movement internally while providing a different look. The rear of the case uses a fan mounting mechanism for two separate fans that can be coupled together with a plate, improving convenience. The HSO1 and HSO2 also invert with minimal effort, allowing the computer to present to the opposite side without needing to reconfigure the entire build. Learn more at the links in the description below. So a lot of YouTubers would be rightfully worried about resisting a copyright strike. If you get 3 strikes, they might terminate your account. For anyone but the big, invincible, multi-billion-dollar media conglomerates, it's termination all around. But for them, strike away and assume no one will fight back because it's worked so far. At best, fighting back will get you reinstated in 10 business days, like it did for us. At its most aggressive, you'd have to get your damages back, sue a company that in this instance is significantly larger and that specifically employs soul-sucking vampires whose entire job is to sit in an ivory tower commanding little peons around like an RTS of some kind and just siphon the lifeblood out of smaller businesses where they actually want to contribute something to society.
I don't think bigger companies should be allowed to sue smaller. Wait. Enders, did you? Okay, I was about to say. I don't see the fairness. Like, they can do requests and stuff and, like, put it towards, like, a legal board or something. For, like, let's say you're, like, blatantly ripping off something. Yeah, I feel like there's a case for that. But everything else, I don't think should be allowed. Because in no way does it help companies grow to sue a smaller company. Doesn't help the smaller company. Like, what are you expecting? Like, how is that working for you? Consume water. Everything that I see with that case just screams stifling competition, keeping all of the smaller companies from ever growing. Which eventually that big company's gonna die because they're gonna do something stupid. We've seen it happen time and time again. So why are you letting the big companies just run ramshod over all these other companies?
Society to keep their own vampiric coffers stuffed. While we do have very real damages that we can prove, it would be a serious undertaking that would distract from what we're here to do. I'm still thinking about it. Companies like Bloomberg, though, they know that, and they bet on it. And in this instance, fighting back at least resulted in a small victory for us, where the video's back up and Bloomberg can go get fucked. Now,
I'll fight you.
this video, the rest of it, will go over some of how the copyright strikes.
But yeah, he's right. YouTube needs to fix this system. Like, if they're gonna be blatant about it by taking out the dislike bar and all this other stuff. Boka is friend-shaped object. I am not. I am stab-shaped object. But why would you allow a faceless entity? Because sometimes the company itself isn't even copyright striking these people. There are companies that's entire existence. They're not even a company. They're like one person and a bot who's paid to copyright strike people. I get copyright struck, not copyright struck, but copyright claimed multiple times, sometimes, for a sound in my video. A sound. Like, how does that make sense? How is that fair? I get revenue split sometimes because in my hour-long video, 2 minutes of it was a song. Sometimes it's not even actually a song. It's a random assortment of sounds that happen in the background that kind of sound a little bit similar to what a song would sound like. I kid you not. Why are they allowed to revenue split me? The next person that revenue splits me? Guess what? Person that runs my channel ain't me. So guess what? Whose information you get? His. Guess where he lives? Good luck going to the poison capital of the world. Because I'm going to sue your ass. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of logging onto my YouTube and getting like 3 different posts that say, hey, we're splitting the revenue of your like $5 video. So you're going to get like $3 or $2 from this video. Because this person claims that this 60 seconds of your hour-long video totally justifies a revenue split. How does that make sense? I cut your part out of the video half the time, 90% of the time. Don't sue me, please.
Thank you.
If you're the one doing it,
Don Sumels just became
you better
a
add another
kobold.
subscription right
Emergency
now.
food, yay.
Because I'll hunt your ass down. You know I'm serious because I'm cursing. I'm using potty mouth. Potty mouth language. Terrible, terrible dragon. Being a very... very uncouth.
System works specifically on YouTube because it's kind of unique. How the DMCA laws work, because YouTube has to follow those, but it also deviates, does its own thing in some places with it.
God damn it.
Thank you. But you're a cute just became a kobold. Emergency food, yay.
Shut up.
In compliance with the law. And then we'll also talk about some of the behind the scenes.
No,
and
I'm
hopefully
not.
this helps some people who are fighting abusive copy strike claims from large entities like Bloomberg. And honestly, at this point, I am just relieved that people can see
Norris, have a
our
good life.
video again, because it was an enormous undertaking for the team. All right, a lot has happened in the last month. We'll give you a timeline of what happened in our specific instance first to get everyone back up to speed on the same page and the same
Yes,
video.
bring us back up to
And
speed.
We'll talk about some of the background of how this system works and where its flaws are. Here's the timeline. We finished our month of travel all over Asia for our documentary, and then we released it a little bit late, but we got some new stuff in as a result. Then the China Talk podcast had me on to discuss the documentary. I'll link it below. Then Forbes spoke with me for an article. Next, Ed Zitron from Better Offline had me on to talk about the work. I'll link those below too. Then, seemingly feeling left out, Bloomberg reared its head. Bloomberg has had me on its podcast in the past, but recently published its own poorly executed version of the same topic that saw its views tank when we went live, and then, coincidentally, they saw their views recovering when they took us down. Huh. Interesting. Bloomberg had different ideas this time. Instead of inviting us on to talk about it and share mutually in the views, it filed a copyright strike against us for our use of this clip of the President of the United States, timestamped 22 minutes to 23:15 in the original video.
See? It's a minute. Justify that. Multiple hour video, 1 minute of your footage used fairly You're a news source. You don't copyright your own damn... You don't copyright the news. One thing, but it's a minute out of a multi-hour video. You don't have that right. Hi, nice chef.
Which included our own commentary and voiceover. And I just put it in here again for purposes including but not limited to transformative educational use for informing our audience of how this system works, which would fall under the educational aspect, but also commentary, critique, and newsworthiness of copyright law. And also after that, they emailed us and said that one of the problems they had is that they retroactively changed some of their clips after they upload them, which again is extremely interesting. Anyway, we called Bloomberg's attorneys, got yelled at, and confirmed it was manually done and not a fully hands-off automation. Louis Rossman jumped into the ring. Copyright attorney Leonard French jumped in. We sent Bloomberg a demand letter wherein our lawyer spat bars, quote, the absence of copyright infringement should have been apparent to someone with even a basic understanding of U.S. copyright law, end quote. We flew to Bloomberg headquarters to confront them and posted a video about it. Next, our counterclaim was accepted by YouTube by lunchtime the same day. 2 weeks began to tick by as our video sat at 0 views and got buried in the algorithm, meaning Bloomberg caused significant and measurable financial harm while also suppressing coverage, which happened to be competing with its own botched failed attempt at covering the same topic. Our crowdfunding campaign skyrocketed to over $1 million in support from our viewers. Thank you, by the way, and that led to our next topic, which is I bought the entire supply of 128 gigabyte USB flash drives from Micro Center in the United States. If you went to one and they weren't there, I am so sorry. I really am. And we have a separate video coming up on the crazy machine we're using to actually make all the drives and the copies of the movie. Next after
I forgive you.
that, Forbes published an excellently written article about the whole situation, including Bloomberg, but also just about what we're doing in general. It was really well done. Lewis noticed and mentioned that Forbes took down the article shortly after publishing for reasons we're not privy to, but the original version remains unarchived.
Well, is it a brag? It kind of is. But he's also like informing you some of the stuff that changed, some of the problems with the copyright system. Like, he's giving you a more detailed explanation on, like, all of the stuff they had to go through.
As we near the end of the timeline, former Bloomberg author Noah Smith of the very cleverly named No Opinion Substack blog published an article detailing his departure from Bloomberg years ago, saying that it was over concerns of the pressures allegedly applied to Bloomberg by the Chinese government, including commentary from the author noting that he was indirectly guided to delete a tweet calling Taiwan a country while writing for Bloomberg. And finally, our video was relisted on YouTube. The way this worked, Bloomberg was put on...
See what I mean? They would love to get that, but they don't want to admit a place exists.
On a clock, and it had two options after our counterclaim. Option one, file a lawsuit against us reinforcing its commitment to a copyright infringement claim, taking it to court, illustrating that it actually believed in the takedown that it filed. Or option two, bitch out. The second option was it could bitch out when it was confronted for being a bully and just kind of silently disappear, and it bitched out. And for the audience at home, meet me at camera 2. We don't have a camera 2. I need to move it. Okay, audience at home, it's just us now. Bloomberg can't hear us at this moment. When I use the phrase bitch out, or as a verb, to bitch out of something, or to have bitched out in the present perfect tense,
I feel like he's... Am I wrong in saying that I feel like he's only doing that part so he can say that they did that multiple times? I'm not wrong, right? Is he just saying that to say that?
Intent of using this phrase is to do so wholly inclusively.
He's one of the only good, their company is one of the few good, like, customer-first companies. That's what a lot of people don't understand that hate him. He's pretty... Like, they're pretty upfront and honest with you about a lot of the stuff they do.
We believe that anybody is capable of bitching out of a thing, regardless of their background or their beliefs. And to ensure future universal understanding of what we mean when we use this phrase and ensure that it's received without any unintended offense to anybody,
it's not telling me anything.
We create a new verb for this situation, which we are going to call to Bloomberg, as in to Bloomberg out of something, or to be Bloomberged. They got Bloomberged. They Bloomberged all over themselves. And now let's go back to camera one, which there's not actually a camera over there. I'm just staring at a wall. I'll be right back. There were some back and forth conversations before they Bloomberged. During those 10 business days, Bloomberg said they'd retract the strike if we paid for a
Don't bring up bungee gum right now. I'm trying to react.
license for the footage that we used fairly under fair use of the President of the United States. We already talked about how that felt like a shakedown, but what's new is after that, they did it again. That's right. They did it 2 times that I am aware of. And Forbes even asked me in an interview, which again is on archive.org, if we would take a no-cost licensing option. Now, it is possible that at some point I may or may not have used the phrase and stated, we don't negotiate with terrorists, but I can't confirm or deny that I said those words.
That's gotta feel kind of good, being able to say that and actually mean it, and it be, like, relevant to the conversation. Feels like really sucky that you have to say that comment, but also it kind of probably feels like lethargic, you know? He cannot stick to anything.
In this situation.
Although he probably could now, since technically he can literally do whatever he imagines. Which I don't even think he understands that.
I can say is that would sure be some clever legal
Most of the time he just uses it to turn on fire.
maneuvering. And if you're a
So
YouTuber
no,
and you
not bungee
believe
gum.
you're truly in the right, and you've had a lawyer tell you, yeah, we think you're right, don't
More like
fall for traps
flammable
like
bungee.
this. Not legal advice, talk to your own lawyers. But what we saw here was a situation where, very cleverly, this could be a
Sounds like 91?
free license, could be something easy for everyone to just move on and just get the video back up. It can be reinstated by the end of today. And people can start watching it again. You can recoup your costs on the video. The problem is, one, that is a great way to get someone under an NDA, a non-disparagement, and then just silence them on the issue. And two, that would then start to set in place the tools necessary for a company that is abusing the copyright strike system to then later say, you know you have to license it from us next time because you did it last time. It is really clever in the most devious ways, in my opinion, if that was their intent. It starts.
That just screams trap. The way he said that they said that, yeah, that's exactly what they would want to do. I'm trying to remember. There's a few instances of this if you just look at like certain things where like certain companies will be like, yeah, you can do this. And it'll seem like a nice deal at first, but then you realize later on the line, oh, that was just to get a precedent so that we could do this, and you have to basically give us way more than we ended up giving you.
To set a precedent that the creator somehow knows or thinks that they need to license the thing, even if the license is free. Who's to say it won't change next time? It creates a pipeline for control of media, particularly of public figures, where there may be limited outlets that gain access or are able to film an event. It creates a slippery slope that is very dangerous, and we're not going to be any part of that bullshit. So no, we would not take a free license. See, phrase I may or may not have said earlier. Now, that was a question Forbes asked me, a hypothetical. To my knowledge, Bloomberg did not offer us a free, no-cost, easy license of this sort, as it was described to us by the Forbes question. However, if they had offered that,
I asked Steve for a spicy comment on the takedown, and he said, Bloomberg is causing direct and ongoing financial harm to Gamers Nexus with its illegitimate copyright strike claiming a speech by the President of the United States. Also, it can shove its copyright strike up its ass right next to the NVIDIA sponsorship money. You can put that on record.
Because fair use doesn't require licenses, we refused any licensing options on principle of operating under the law and having a spine. That gets you up to speed on our situation.
See, the thing is, the only reason they're able to do it is they're such a public-facing company. Like, he's literally said it. Like, literally, they only exist because the company, public loves them and loves how upfront and honest they are. That's literally the only reason. Is that they're very popular. And they're honest to their consumers. Honesty bred loyalty, which helped them fight this back. And popularity helped like boost the signal enough
For what we learned
to where Bloomberg
broader
couldn't do
user
anything
standpoint, let's start with the
outright.
copyright strike system.
Because if they
So
did,
when
they
a
absolutely
copyright
would have
strike
lost.
is filed against a YouTube channel, the video is instantly pulled, it's gone. The views are frozen in place. The money is moved to escrow, and it will either be paid to the claimant, or if it's released, it'll go back to the creator eventually.
Which I call that bombastic. If it was like half the video or something, sure. If it's a good portion of the video, sure. A minute? Anything under 10% of your video shouldn't be claimable. Like, I'm sure there are things he's not 100% honest about. Like, a lot of people are like that. But he's upfront and honest enough that it breeds, like, loyalty. He's at least, like, 80%. Were those jobs built on the back of dishonesty and bad business practices? Yes. So did those jobs deserve to exist? No. You shouldn't be mad at him for calling out a bad practice or a dishonesty or something. You should be mad at the company owner or director or CEO that allowed it and did it. This is the only way you can handle situations like this, Alan. This is literally the only way. Because otherwise, they'll just get away with it. Because when confronted the legal way, they'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. What? Oh, no, totally not. And they'll move that job somewhere else and rename it. It'll still be dishonest, bad business practice, or illegal. But it'll be under the guise of, oh, this is totally legit. Like, do I feel bad for the people that lose their jobs? Sure. But I also think that they need to learn the lesson I learned. Because I almost got caught in a pyramid scheme. If you see the signs, leave. If you see the signs, leave. If you're in the position where you have to take that job, realize that it is a time period job. Think of it as a contract job. Do not think of it as a permanent place. I highly doubt they did, Alan. These people probably knew that said job was either illegal, bad business practice, or dishonest. And they knew, and they probably had something in the works, so they were fine. You like defend them for saying, oh, these people lost jobs and lost their incomes. I highly doubt they did. They probably knew beforehand that the company was doing something shady or something. Most of them most likely did. Not a lot of people in that kind of work are dumb. He caused a PC company to go bust up as the CEO was a dick that affected hundreds of people. No. He pointed out that the guy was a a-hole and lying. And the customers are the ones that brought the company down. If the customers are calling you out, you don't need to exist. That'd be like saying that, cause and effect, Alan. Except for he wasn't the cause nor the effect. He was just one soundboard. There was a lot of people pissed off at that guy. I know what company you're talking about. There were a lot of people calling him out. He just happened to be one of the mouthpieces. He was not the only one. I remember watching a few other channels that were about as big as him or bigger commenting on it. And they were all saying, this guy, Charlie, You know, one of the biggest YouTubers? He covered it, and he said the guy was a dick. Well, Alan, it was a PC giveaway that they use as their goodwill thing. Notice that it's supposed to be their goodwill thing. But when it came time to give said gift, like, you know, for their goodwill, remember, he kept looking for reasons not to give it to her. That's a little weird. And then, after he found a way to not give it to her, like, in front of thousands of people, he acted like it was a good thing. That's not how giveaways work. And the way he decided to not give it to her wasn't even on his list of things.
Why do you hate me so?
I am trying to react. I will stab you in the face, Hectic. Little known fact, Alan, not about 90% of those people did not lose their job. A lot of them got hired. A lot of them by him. He hired them. So you being mad at him is a little weird, since he hired them. Because he saw that the workers were good people.
Stab me instead.
So,
I
like,
crave loss of life.
do your research.
The channel then receives 1 of 3 strikes before termination.
And that's also the case. What Stealth says, Artesian Builds, since we're just going to call them out now, lost a lot of money because of their operations being very bad and having actual problems. He didn't cause the close down in the slightest. He hired 2 of their best employees. He doesn't have a lot of money. And what you don't understand is why I said he hired a lot of them. He did. He helped some of the others get jobs. Because he knew that he was part of the reason they might have closed down. At least that was his, like, thought process. Was he really? Maybe 10% of the reason they closed down. 80% of the reason, honestly, was their operations were so bad that they lost so much money constantly having to refix computers that were not fixed, only to try to refix them again that were not fixed, to refix them again, and not send out a lot of other computers so people would just refund their money because they'd be like, well, I haven't got my computer in months. You see what I mean? He ain't the problem there. I mean, I'm thinking for the flesh.
The first strike instantly assumes the creator is guilty, as do the next 2, and requires them to attend a condescending so-called cop.
Nintendo has been trying to sue everyone to act like they invented game patterns and concepts. No, yeah, you're right. They're doing that too. And they're not a good company.
For it to then be removed, whether or not they actually did anything wrong. So the strike is submitted, the video goes down.
That's what I don't think should be the case. I think your first strike, YouTube manually reviews it. If it has no issues, or if the copyright strike in question is less than a 1/10 of the video, do what you do with everything else, which is be like, hey, they're claiming this. Could you remove this or alter it so that it's not like in copyright strike zone?
The money is frozen.
At the very least.
The views stop, and therefore your ability to continue making...
Because they're affecting the people's livelihoods at that point. That's what I would be mad about. A big company like that affecting a smaller creator's livelihood just because you said bad words about them. Oh, my feelings are hurt. Let's destroy this person's entire company. Even though they're like a 3-man company. And I'm a 20,000 person company. That doesn't even sound right at that point.
Money stops, at least on that content. And this would be like a cop handing
not wrong,
you a
Sentry.
speeding ticket at your home when you don't own nor never have driven a car. And then saying, I can make it go away if you pay me, or if you want to fight it, you can go to court, spend all your time there, and while you're doing that, by the way, to make this little problem go away, you have to go to driving class at the same time because f*** you. The system...
Yeah, what he's explaining is literally what they do. And what's hilarious is YouTube only does that because they're perpetuating to the companies when creators are the ones that created them.
The way YouTube has built it is punishment on top of punishment on top of...
What's crazy about the Nintendo thing? Hi, CJ. What's crazy about the Nintendo thing is a lot of people have stopped buying their products. And a lot of people are not playing their games. You can't even get a... Sometimes you wait a while for a race in Super Mario World. Grand Prix or whatever it's called. I don't remember what it's called. You did what the title says. What do you get? You get a brownie point. Good boy.
Punishment, regardless of whether the creator is
I
guilty.
don't stab you
There
today.
is some level of following DMCA and just doing what the law says. That strike system, that's YouTube. The American...
The entire strike system makes me so angry. It's so broken, so doesn't work. Isn't geared towards helping anyone except for the company.
Government didn't write into copyright law a couple hundred years ago how copyright strikes should work on YouTube. That's like their thing. And DMCA didn't do that either. On strike 2, which is not a far jump from 1, since the first claimant could file more claims against the channel, legitimate or not, several monetization features are disabled on the channel. On 3, you're out. Now, going from 1 strike to 3 strikes is not a big jump. That is actually a scary situation to be in for a lot of reasons. The number one is that the same claimant or a network of them affiliated with each other could coordinate an attack on a channel to bring it down.
Which Nintendo has done, by the way. Where are your pats? Okay, pat, Irvin. Pat, you can. Oh my God, you're all asking for pats.
Basically overnight. And at that point, you don't really even have any tools anymore to get access to YouTube unless you know someone there to help you, which is bad. So it is pretty scary to get even 1 strike. Now,
You're on thin ice, Buster, but you're pat.
0 to 1 is a massive escalation. 1 to 2 again turns off a lot of the money faucet and would make it awfully hard to legally contest an illegitimate claim.
Yeah. The first 2 basically are already enough basically to shut down most companies.
And for a small creator,
companies.
if you don't have income anymore. So it's
Pat,
like the
pat,
system
pat,
is set
baby.
up to screw you before you can even fight for yourself. 3 is potentially the end of everything you've ever built, no matter how long you've been building it on the platform. And then you could see a situation where, let's
I'm surprised the Enders hasn't popped in and said hi.
say in the critical review space of YouTube, which is sadly just like continuing to get enclosed by
Or Ari,
influencers,
or anyone
just
else.
general marketing bullshit.
Now go and hug
idiocy.
Shizu. I hug Shizu every
There's
day.
a system set up where companies could coordinate an attack to strike channels into oblivion.
Alan. I didn't say your name. Or are you asleep? I think you're asleep. Never mind. Sorry. Look at Sherma. I want to see what... I want to play this game so bad. I do, Shizu! Hug. But, here's the problem with that private company idea, Alan. 1, YouTube is based in America. So, yes, it does have to follow American law. Free speech being one of them. Copyright law being one of them. Why do you think it has the copyright law stipulation in there? The copyright strike system. But also, it has to adhere to the law to the letter. It's not allowed to just break laws. That's why it's really bad that recently the freedom of... There's some really bad privacy laws that just got released recently that in America that are going to affect you very badly. And then you won't be on the company side anymore, probably. But
Oblivion, if the channels are causing problems for fairly using clips
Cheesy, do you want to join me in a second?
of say
Me and
marketing
Al,
lies or something, and this is concerning.
Me
So
and Lucy
that's
gonna
why
play
to
games.
us, an illegitimate claim needs to be met with a very forceful response from the channel, because you have to establish that you're not going to take bullshit. Now, some of this is stuff that DMCA law requires YouTube to do, and some isn't YouTube's fault. For example, the DMCA allows the platform owner to dodge responsibility for user uploads that genuinely infringe upon copyright. And we do think copyright law is broadly a good thing, and we've enforced our own rights to copyrights in the past. If YouTube were held liable for its users uploading, let's say, Disney movies,
This is true. Part of their problem is not is not because of them. It's companies taking advantage of legal loopholes and stuff.
it would have stopped existing a long time ago. So it makes sense for YouTube to comply with the law and take down the content. But what's up to YouTube is the rest of it. YouTube has decided how the strike system works. It's decided how reinstatement of content works. YouTube could flip a lever and decide that a strike isn't even applied until a company has followed through on its claim by filing a lawsuit, or until a creator has accepted responsibility and accepted a strike, or has lost in court. Common sense could also be used, such as if you've literally just uploaded Aladdin in the middle of your review or something. But that's a losing game on a platform obsessed with algorithmic determination. YouTube probably doesn't even know how YouTube works anymore. So YouTube's side of the responsibilities are important because they have built a system that punishes.
I am convinced that I don't think the people that are at YouTube know how it runs anymore.
Without validation.
What do you
have
mean
to
take my
comply with
knife?
the
It's
law.
my knife.
Yes, but the
Get your
punishment
own.
is their choice. Of course, there's also the external court system for actually figuring out how it should be handled. It's also wild to us that YouTube doesn't scale the amount of strikes with the tenure, because you have more exposure to copyright strike attacks the larger you are. Likewise, we think it's insane that they don't punish and penalize institutions like Bloomberg for false strikes without follow-through.
I think that if they file a false one where it's like someone reviews it and they're like, huh? That they should be disabled from filing one a day. And disabled from filing one against that particular channel for 90 days. Unless, again, manually review, they can request manual reviews on stuff. And that person looks and sees, yes, that's blatant. It works with both situations. Hi, Dargan.
YouTube has clearly sided with us by reinstating us and removing the strike. But as far as we can tell, there was no actual cost for Bloomberg. So what? Their lawyers had to spend some hours responding to ours. Considering their lawyers are seemingly probably W-2 employees of Bloomberg itself, that's literally just their job. And even if they're not, it's still literally just their job. It didn't really cost Bloomberg anything to do this, realistically. Those people were likely already getting paid to sit there in their ivory tower. And we're just using Bloomberg as an example here. For an entity like Bloomberg, particularly a huge one that Google could never imagine banning, seeing as Bloomberg functionally controls visibility into the stock market with its terminals, there's no downside to just filing strikes on whatever they see fit. Maybe they eventually get sued, maybe they don't. Maybe they Streisand themselves like this time. But in most instances, especially with outlets less willing to put everything on the line like we did by signing under penalty of perjury and channel termination threats that there's no infringement, it's easier to just take the strike and move on. This system is broken. The law does not require YouTube to function in this particular way that it does, only that it must comply with takedowns and have a system for resolving disputes. This is something that we'll spend more time working on and talking about on our GNCA channel in the future. If you want to learn more about it, we've got hardware to talk about here. Hopefully the saga's behind us, but we'll link GNCA below if you want to hear more about this, as I spend some time really kind of digging into the system, how it works, and putting some explainers together. Let's do some really quick FAQ, frequently asked questions. I saw two that kept coming up from viewers. I think they're good
I'll
questions.
listen to these two and then we'll end it.
The first one is, why not just re-upload the claimed clip and move on? So first of all, YouTube has banned large creators in the past for re-uploading content that is currently undergoing legal review and dispute. You are not allowed to do that. I actually agree with that decision. That's crazy.
Makes sense. Like, why would you allow me to? Yeah, that doesn't make sense. So, that's fair.
Because at that point, you're just trying to skirt the system.
Yeah, you're just trying to pretend like the system doesn't exist.
Like, that's not really how it's supposed to work. So that I get. So they're not okay with you just re-uploading to get around it. More importantly, as for why not just re-upload the movie without Bloomberg's clip that we fairly used, the answer is because fuck them, that's why. I mean, it's like, I have a legal right to use it. It starts and stops there. It's really that simple. It's a principle thing. And
he's right.
I do think it's a slippery slope.
And it is a slippery
to cave
slope
on something when you have a legal right.
Because if he had caved, they'd have hit bigger channels.
And we're not going to be a part of the apparatus that
Don't worry, I'm
going
to call her in a second.
And the creators on it further into oblivion, to a tightening of free speech and commentary on public figures and the things that they say that could be relevant to content. That's insane. And also the third reason is they could just move the target. All right, so the second one's really quick. People say, why don't you file a lawsuit? If you have a legal right and they've backed off now, they haven't even pursued their belief, if they have one, in infringement, why wouldn't you sue them? And people say this as if it's an easy process.
The issue here is the courts are basically just who has more money right now. To give you an idea, if I had all the money in the world, I could go into a store and just walk out with half their inventory. And just pay less than it costs to get all that stuff to the government. And the government will just say, you're just going to have to forgive them. That's basically how current works. It's just easier for people not to do that. They could just send someone to buy stuff or punch in what they want on an iPhone or something and it'll arrive at their door.
Lewis had a great point when I spoke to him. A lot of them actually, but the one that stands out is he said people want to see that because that's how the system's supposed to work. It's not as simple as you file a suit and lawyers in the background do some stuff and they file some papers and they talk to some judges and then at the end it's like, can I have money now please? Or you give someone money. It's not that simple. I am a principled person, so for that reason alone, to be very clear,
Pops and run, I'll
remain
fight
on the
you.
table for us, including legal remedies, and we leave all options in our arsenal. At the same time, that is a substantial time commitment, and I have seen at this point through the process how unfair it can feel in terms of the distribution of time required between the parties based on their size. And I do have an actual job that you all watch us for, and you all have been very vocal about watching us for, which I respect, and I would like to do that job. And so that is a major consideration for me. Now, also just for some background, GN has staff, but we are a flat organization. We do not have executives. We do not have managers. I run it, and it's that simple. So we've got
yeah, so they have a lot less people. Like I was saying, they have a lot less people. They have people that they need to take care of. So they're way more affected by a copyright strike than someone like Bloomberg would be. In which Bloomberg could just pay a few $1,000 or something, and for whatever reason, it would just be ignored. Yeah, the system is in favor of one with more money. Okay. We're gonna look at this. We're gonna cover this one. So, I saw this pop up when I was playing with, my friend. Luigi, you did a no death run? That's pretty crazy. That's crazy. That's wild. But yeah, I saw this pop up, and basically, PayPal is trying to pressure even more now. What's hilarious is there's even more petitions out in America, and I'm thinking of starting a government petition because apparently the laws are not getting made fast enough to make it basically where PayPal cannot discriminate against this kind of stuff.
Yeah, we need to talk about payment processors again, because the fallout from all of the interference...
I don't know if I should do it, though, because I don't think I'm a big enough, like, spotlight. Because small streamer and stuff, I don't think I'm a big enough streamer that it would get enough traction to, like, get going.
Is still unfolding across the industry. We've got some devs on Steam being cut off from early access funding. There are devs using PayPal having a lot of fun, like as an example, one dev claiming that their £80,000 is being held hostage.
Here's the thing. I don't think PayPal should be allowed to do that. That's the reason I've always been... I always take the money I get on PayPal immediately. I don't let it get above a certain amount.
The pushback, thankfully, is also real, because right now, in the UK, Australia, and Canada, governments are facing public pressure.
See, they're like... Governments are already starting to get these.
To, well, regulate this payment processor BS. But there is a thread I've got to mention that I've got to call out, and that is people just saying, oh, well, you know, won't really impact me, I don't really care.
The issue of that, and I actually got into kind of a mini argument with bokathedragon over this, but the issue with just going, is it will. It will. It starts with the stuff you don't care about as much. Like, they literally pick stuff that most people won't argue with at first. And then they slowly move up the chain to things they actually want to ban. It's the same thing with big corpos. Well, they are a big corpo. Okay, so the exact same situation I told y'all before. If you give a mouse a cookie, it's gonna want some milk. Give a mouse some milk, it's gonna want a napkin. It's gonna keep going.
It's a bit like when people say, oh, I've got nothing to hide, therefore that privacy law isn't really that important.
Oh, have people said that? That's wild. That's wild.
Nah, I'd say, if you think this won't impact you, sorry, but I
That's what
really
I'm
think
saying,
you are
Luigi.
wrong, especially when we run this experiment across time. This campaign means that huge chunks of the world can't buy games, any games. And when that sort of thing is happening, no one escapes the effects, because even if you don't know they're impacting you, they are, because they're systemic effects that are industry-wide.
Steam is PC gaming now. That's why gamers love them so much, for being such, like, so, like, gamer first, corpo, like, last, privately owned and not investor funded. It's because they could totally, like, abuse that power that they have, but they don't. Well, Steam and GOG. But here's the problem. GOG is being affected too. So, like, even if you like use that as a thing, like, you're forgetting they're attacking GOG too. GOG can't even sell those games. Because it quite literally can't afford to have the payment processors pulling out on it. But, like, this is a massive problem. Like, no one should be able to dictate what you use your money for.
That's just one reason why this matters. You know how we live in the Torment Nexus? Well, one little feature of the Torment Nexus is fun things like your insurance provider getting hacked. That actually just happened to people with Allianz Life Insurance just recently on July 16th. What happened is the hackers used social engineering to breach the third-party cloud system and get personally identifiable data on the majority of their 1.4 million customers. And things like that are why I use today's sponsor Incogni.
Probably a good thing that was a small insurance company.
because they're our way to fight back. You see, when data leaks, data brokers exist to harvest that data and sell it on. So if you ever wondered how that spam caller got your number, it's often that, actually. And Incogni solves this problem by automating the legal work that you would otherwise have to do. And the best news is you can join at incogni.com/Bellular News with
How much you want to bet those scammers and stuff are the ones that own these companies?
60%.
They
off
created the
annual
problem,
plan
now
on
they're
my
selling
link.
you the
Now,
solution.
here's how it works. Get ready. You enter your information, and that's it. It'll just go do everything. You see, you've got the legal right to have your data taken down, but that takes hours and it's not permanent. So once Incogni's got your stuff, they automatically scan all brokers, they send takedown requests, and they add you to the suppression list. They do that automatically, and they continually rescan so your data is kept down. Just look at my dashboard, 206 sent. 4 in progress, 202 completed, and I'm on 23 suppression lists, which is pretty goddamn good peace of mind.
That's terrifying that he's on 23 suppression lists. How many suppression lists do you need to be on?
Incogni.com/Bellular News. You
Hello?
get 60% off the annual plan, so just check them out using my link today. If you missed our latest videos, well, here's the short version of what happened. Payment processors demanded changes to Steam and to itch.io. But not just that, they fundamentally altered how adult content gets processed, and they've set a terrible precedent for how art can be sold. itch.io, as an example, is still dealing with an incredible, humongous workload where they're just having to re-index all of their adult works. They're also having to find new payment processors who will accept adult content, and they have loads of devs who...
Stripe, as soon as Stripe's able to do it, PayPal's going to lose a massive amounts of money, and I don't think they understand that. And basically, these banks are just going to have to capitulate, or it's going to put a massive target on their backs that was already there. It was a really tiny target, because most people know that a lot of banks are owned by, like, a few people. Well, if you don't want that to be massive, like, common knowledge, that even the dumb normal, like, the dumb average person doesn't know, do you want them to know? You know, the people that actually get stuff changed when they find out about it? You know, like how small things got changed because a lot of, like, everyday people are like, why is that a thing? Oh my god! A few months later, it got changed.
who are real frustrated with the situation. Over on Steam, well, Valve have delisted many games. They've also changed their rules completely, such that now anything a payment processor does not like can't be sold on Steam. And the inciting incident, I suppose, where this all comes from, it's groups like Collective Shout, where they essentially object to all, air quotes,
Sexploitation? Their wins include billboards objectifying women. Weird. Sexualized children's clothes. What identifies as sexualized children's clothes? Are you talking about, like, sleeveless kid shirts? Those aren't sexualized. If you're calling them sexualized, you're the problem. That's a little weird. That's a little weird, champ. Sexually violent video games banned. We already talked about that. That's a scapegoat. Andrew Tate's pimping courses. Let's be honest here. How many people were actually buying that? Oh gosh, the, like, 7 other people that were probably going to buy it can't buy it. An age verification trial underway to help protect kids from porn. That is going to protect 0 kids from porn. I 100% guarantee it.
Exploitation media, legal or illegal, it doesn't matter to them. It's essentially based on, I guess, personal morals and
These people created a problem so they could get paid for doing nothing.
distaste, which they are totally okay to have. But, you know, it's...
Please remember that while they try to, like, talk about taking down all this sexploitation, as they call it, more than half of them have been known to support cuties before it got taken down. As far as I know, it was taken down. I've heard someone say it's back up. But that was actual sexploitation. And they were all for it. They're like, yeah, that's a good thing.
Whenever they try to make them be the morals and the tastes that the rest of us are kind of forced.
We request that you demonstrate corporate social responsibility, not a thing, and immediately cease processing payments on Steam and itch.io. By the way, some of these people are going to jail now in the UK because their own ideas being used against them. If I lived in the UK, I'd do it too, where I'm just reporting them for objectifying me. We can use your strategy too. You want this to be a thing?
And they're just one example of groups who are pressuring payment processors. And these processors, well, they're happy to restrict creators from the financial system.
They're happy to do this because it gives them a gateway. What they're trying to do is basically be the mafia. They see an opportunity where if they, like, pressure these places enough, they can later on charge these places more to do the thing that they're stopping them to do.
System. We all kind of know that. So happy that, in this story, they're allegedly withholding £80,000 from a dev.
Oh no,
His
you're right.
crime
Tilbert.
was that he worked on one of those nudie games. Tut tut. Let's talk about the 80 grand. It's what one dev has had held in
YouTube chat
PayPal.
working? It
Whenever
looks like it's
PayPal
not showing in
froze his
YouTube
account.
chat.
PayPal basically asked where the money came from. It's a sort of question often asked for financial crime purposes. Now,
Right.
the dev said that it came from, quote, programming.
They interviewed me, asked me where it came from. I said it came from programming work I did for video games. They asked me where the games were sold. I said Steam. They asked me what specific game it was, and I demanded I link the store page. You can't do that. No. I swear I'm gonna move over to
Well, that wasn't enough.
somewhere
PayPal
else.
dug deeper. They asked for a store page, and when they discovered it was adult content that was legal in the United Kingdom, they refused to release the money. Yeah, because someone who did programming work on a product that's legal in the UK, just, you know, PayPal? No, can't use that. And the reason why is that it broke their terms and conditions. You see, their rules say any activity, quote, that relates to transactions for digital adult content is a violation. So, getting paid for what?
So, PayPal should now pull out of... Let's see the things they're still working on. They still do OnlyFans. They still do... as far as I know, they still do... the other sites. They still work with... I'm positive they still do porn sites, probably. They claim they don't. I bet you they do. I'd be very, very interested to hear all the places they do. And how, like, pressuring they are on them.
Work on an adult game does count, even if you're just, say, programming the liquid physics. Yeah, so that counts. This isn't really a new thing. It's actually been happening for years. It's one of the reasons why, well, in this space, Nobody really likes PayPal. PayPal even limits accounts for creators with adult Patreons as one example. They withhold payments from creators quite often, and usually it only gets fixed if your complaints go viral enough to, say, warrant a review from Business Insider. And if you think that's oddly specific, yeah, it is, because that's what it took to recover $90,000 in one particular case. And unfortunately, what
I think PayPal should be investigated.
happens is that the options are continually narrowing for these people. As an example, our developer with the 80 grand locked in PayPal, well, he's being debanked by multiple UK banks. They simply say that it's too risky. Now, you may think that that doesn't...
No one gives a damn what people you work with, as long as you're working with everybody. You're just how people use their money. To give you an idea how stupid they're being, I've actually heard recently from a lot of people that aren't... No bank was even brought up. But people have mentioned that they've started carrying cash again. Now I wonder why that is. Why would you be carrying cash more when before you were starting to cut it out and just carry your card? It could be because you're worried that you might be told you can't buy that with a card now, huh? Because you keep making it harder for smaller like companies and stuff to use your content because you're charging them to get payments from you. That's a
affect you. You're not buying or making adult games. Here's the thing. Valve gives us direct evidence that these demands go way, way beyond adult games. Back in July, Steam confirmed something shocking. PayPal's acquiring bank, which is the one that processes the payments, made a new rule. And it's one you've probably felt, because it was that they would no longer accept Steam transactions in most currencies. They would only accept them in British pounds, Canadian dollars, Australian dollars, American dollars, and Japanese yen.
So basically, they only accept it in the most used forms now. They're either being racist, or they're cutting out the ones where they can get away with the most with the least kickback. Because all the other ones are so less used that they aren't worth much. So these people probably don't have a lot of money. So these people probably can't do anything about it. Or these countries can't do anything about it. Could be that. So maybe they're racist. We should start suing them for being racist.
Sounds like a currency problem.
Does anyone live in one of these countries that can't pay anymore?
Right? Maybe it's about refunds and conversions. No, it's not. Steam told Rock Paper Shotgun the truth in the matter, that this is, quote, regarding content in Steam related to what we've previously commented on surrounding MasterCard. What does that mean? Well, it means that anyone trying to buy any products on Steam through PayPal will get punished. And it's all because payment processors don't like legal adult content. I think the words legal need to be emphasized. This is not just about like fringe illegal stuff. This is about mainstream legal stuff. Pretty bad. And for developers, this is...
To give you an idea, games that are kind of mild, they just have like show a little skin, got hit. Some games flew under the radar somehow. Not quite sure how. It's probably because they didn't actually care about this stuff, and so they didn't really search.
Another disaster and what's just been an avalanche of bad news. Seriously, it's just been bad. As an example, another thing in Steam, which is early access. Anna Valens flagged what multiple devs discovered, which is that Steam is denying early access to adult games.
You can't do early access because they can't. They can't support you. Oh, I see people are talking in this chat, but it's not showing up in this chat? That's weird. All right, I'm gonna keep my eye on the chat again.
For the developers involved, this was obviously a bit of a shock. They had spent weeks going back and forth with reviewers at Steam, and nobody mentioned this limitation. But now they are locked out from launching store.
The weird part is that a lot of said games are in the adult ratings to begin with. There's also some that aren't even in the adult category that are getting, like, hit as well. That's what I was saying. Some of them are just mild at worst. They're like, oh gosh, she showed a little bit of leg in this one particular, like, cutscene that was slightly suggestive. Better ban it. That's too sexual. Why is my multi-shot not working? Weird. Give me a sec, guys. I gotta pull up YouTube chat. Sorry. You wanna know what's hilarious, guys? I'm contacting Jacksepticeye. I'm contacting him on YouTube. I'm doing it. On Twitch. I mean Twitter. I'm doing it. I'm tired of this. You guys really like the Jacksepticeye thing and stuff, and it. Hi, Wicked! Pumpkin Dragon, yeah. Yeah, Wicked.
Lizard.
Right. I don't know why, but it's
Pages, and that means not just money stuff. No, it means they can't generate followers. It means they can't build wish lists, things that are important for how lots of
Wicked,
games are
if you're
made.
still there, say
And
hi
here's
so I
what's
can make
weird.
sure I didn't
This
miss
isn't
you.
even a consistent thing. You see, Rock Paper Shotgun found denials as recently as 2024, but SteamDB shows games released in early access after that point. Games with adult content, that is. So it's all quite strange. Steam's review process page hasn't changed publicly. Since April 2019, adult-only titles needed both store pages and a product build completed for review. Now, Valve warned that it might take a bit longer than 3 to 5 days. I could make a lot of jokes there, but I'll leave those aside. But nowhere does it say that early access is not an option. So this is strange.
I think these people are grifters. They're saying their game can't be, like, because they're trying to force Valve to accept them. Hey, Squirrel! They're trying to make it look like Steam's being the bad guy. Most likely when Steam probably has a real issue with whatever their game is or something.
Something has changed. Valve have not announced the change, though. So, if you're making a non-mature game,
No
sure,
pumpkin
you
for
can
me!
use early
I want
access, do
pumpkin!
whatever you want. But the moment your game might be objectionable on adult grounds, the second it may have a nipple, the restrictions will kick in. Now, this isn't just an annoyance. Things like early access often function as a lifeline. It basically helps developers fund their final development push. That option is now gone for adult devs. That's yet another revenue stream cut off in a world where, you know, basically no banks or payment processors seem to want to touch them. So, what options do we have as a...
You're able to save your stuff though, right, Squirrel? There are people that can save you, right?
Public, especially if our concern is not just what's happening now, but if our concern is also the direction of travel. As an example, there's a snippet I often brought up regarding MasterCard, where basically their rules talked about what is genuine art. And I don't know about you, but I don't think MasterCard should be the people judging whether something is or is not art. No, I think MasterCard should be processing payments. Remember the Change.org petition from last time? Yeah, Change.org. So a noble effort, but it only gained 20,000 signatures since then. What's actually been more impactful, though, is quite good. It's regional petitions. These have actually cut through, and some of them are getting significant backing. In the United Kingdom, 7,500 people have used the government petition system, where they're demanding that legal content be protected from payment processor bans. Now, we've covered the UK petition's limited power with, say, the Stop Killing Games case, but hitting 10,000 signatures does guarantee a government statement. That's progress. Obviously, if it gets more signatures, then you will maybe see some more progress. Links will be in the sources below. Now, over in Australia, well, the Australian Parliament is facing a different petition. They want antitrust investigations on the same grounds. And with over 6,000 signatures, it's the second most active petition right now. And what's funny
Well, that's good. You were able to save everything.
is they only need 50 for a response. Well, the one that could be the most interesting is actually Canada. And the reason why is that their petitions need authorization from a member of parliament before going public. Now, they only need 500 responses. The good news is they've got 11,000. And their petition requests transparency, better creator rights, and an end to financial discrimination by payment platforms. Okay, what will these petitions achieve?
Japan's already done this, by the way. They're already in the process of doing this exact thing. You won't say pumpkin instruct tube? You have to! I'll be sad. Anyway, gotta go check the VOD. Okay. We'll fight you, though. You say pumpkin right now. Say it.
Look, I don't exactly know, but at a minimum, they will force recorded government responses, which in itself is a little useful at least. They're all things being framed around legal content being restricted as well, which certainly helps. The UK and Australian governments have already got online child protection laws, and Canada's been trying to pass one of their own for a few years now. But this thing is different. This is asking whether payment processors are above the law, because again, we're talking about legal content.
That's the other issue. They're hitting stuff that they shouldn't even be allowed to hit. They have no recourse. No one gives a dang if you're supporting like a porn site or something. So why the heck do you care? You don't. You're just trying to make it look like you're holier than thou and stuff. And it's not working.
And to go a little further, yes, it's the case that, yeah, these are like private businesses. However, we do actually have a lot of legal precedent over things which would be called public utilities, which of course still can be private for-profit businesses. Or public businesses, of course. But basically, if you are a utility, then you're treated a little bit differently. Perhaps you remember all of the net neutrality discussion from years and years ago. But the most important part for now is awareness. Here's a quote from ex-Japanese assemblyman Zenko Kurashita. He told Dan from Mimiko Gamer via automation this quote, "Precisely because it's made so hard to see, I think most people don't perceive how serious a threat this is. And the companies are exploiting that lack of awareness to maintain their power, which is not healthy."
Not healthy at all.
That man is right. The people most affected by this do not have power. They can't go on nationally recognized outlets. They can't bend a leading political representative's ear. So payment processors keep shutting down art in
Politics? I guess it would be kind of politic adjacent. It's not really politics. He just happens to be a politician. They're really talking about laws and stuff, which I guess in like a roundabout way is politics. But really, we're talking about games.
In all forms.
We're almost done.
That's the thing here. I'm not asking you to like these games or play these games or anything like that. But the point is, their rights are also your rights, even if you don't like what they're doing. So even if you don't like what they're doing, you should still support their rights because those rights are also your rights. This is a very important concept.
It's a slippery slope, is what he's saying. And he's right. You think it just stops at these games, but it will not. If they get this, they get away with this, they will absolutely get away with the next thing because there will be a precedent set.
That's, I
When
thought
what?
we all understood as of like 10, 15 years ago. These days, I'm actually not so sure, and that is rather depressing, and it's a part of why this video exists. So the consequences of something like this reach everywhere. Now, the ongoing campaign to do things like jam call centers is actually quite good, because that causes direct operational problems for these
Yeah, by the way, just calling them. Even if you get a call center, that costs them money.
companies. That's definitely a good thing. But without highlighting this to people with power, without reaching mass audiences, well, they'll just keep doing what they've been doing. It's times like this where having a press is rather useful. So, hello. That's us trying to, you know, do our job. Because in a world where those who facilitate financial transactions care number one about risk and PR, not legality, guess what that does? Systemically, it means that things will be more safe. And it seems the direction of travel is not positive. So even if you don't like these games, I think you should care. These companies are doing this without a thought for the artistic consequences, without a thought for the impact on customers, without a thought for the impact on society, on culture, and in the future, because the only thing they are caring about is short-term, no bad PR, and more money. That's it. And sadly, this is just one of the many ways in which devs can be harried and messed up. And if you want basically an antidote to all of this,
they get more funding from certain groups. So kind of more money. The bar goes up a little bit, but not actually. You're right. They're not actually getting money. Talking about rights and laws, it means a political thing from my point of view. No, you're right. I just kind of consider it more adjacent. It's more about the games than it is the politics itself. They're talking about things you can do. They're not really pushing a message or anything. They're just saying, hey, you should probably be worried about this. But I agree. I don't like politics as a whole. It's definitely a stress point with me and Papa. But that was Bellular.
check out the story of Team Cherry in this video next.
That was Bellular. Gotta love Bellular. Don't forget to give him a like and a viewer. I don't know what else to say.